This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Hot Mike, ready to rock and roll here on this Friday morning. Our thanks to Corey Provis for joining us. Big second hour, of course, my dad coming up. We have some hot weekend picks. He'll do that at 10:35. Pretty pumped for our next guest in studio, who I had the pleasure of covering since, his senior year of high school, and now he's an old hardened pro in on our side of the business. One of the all-time greats at North Dakota State. Not saying that because he's sitting here. Christian Dudzik joins us in studio. It's great to see you, man. Congrats on the new gig. Thanks for stopping by. And how you been? How have things been going?
It's been great to be back. I drove in. I just got in a couple days ago.
Right.
I started work yesterday. Finished the production last night. So we're rocking and rolling, already in the middle of fall camp. And it's been, I got back here. A lot of people, I just showed up at the Dome my first night back here. Nobody knew.
You still have a key?
Yeah, I snuck in. I still know the ways
Everybody
in.
tells me about the way to get in. Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
I was trying to sneak. I knew they had a team meeting at 6:30. So my plan was to sneak in, grab the equipment manager, throw some player clothes on, and try to just jump in the meeting without being noticed. But Devin Kleiman caught me right away.
You got sniffed out there immediately. Before we get to all the football stuff, tell for viewers, listeners, what have you been up to since I know you were around, the year after you, maybe the first 2 years after you graduated, doing various things. Since then, what have you been up to over the now 8 years since then?
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say that out loud.
Various things is a great way to put it, honestly. Yeah, right after I got done here, I teamed up with Cole. He opened Dynasty Performance Training. I did a lot of media stuff with that, creating videos and whatnot. But I still thought I wanted to stay in the training field industry. Coach Kramer had such a huge impact on me, and I wanted to do the same for kids. So I opened, partner and I opened a business in Omaha. That was great. We ended up selling it. I wanted to get out of the Midwest and venture out and learn about other people, other cultures. So I took a position in Florida that wasn't sports related, but it was still fitness. I realized I needed to get back into college sports. So I called up a couple of buddies, looked at some options, ended up going back, working with Jake Otten, who was the football coaches tape director here at NDSU. He's now out at University of Washington. And Casey Byers, who started who was the first creative director. I told him my position should be the Casey Byers Director of Creative Content. I hopefully it'll be endowed one day.
Yeah, right.
So I worked out there with them for the 2023 season. We went to the national championship.
Pretty good year to hop on board there at the University of Washington. Yeah, that worked out
kidding.
Right.
And just to experience that season alone, but then what happened with the coaches taking off for Alabama and just experiencing that and the uncertainty at the highest level like that was a great experience. And then Jed Fish and his staff came in and got to experience his angle and how he wants to run the program. So it's been quite the journey. After that, I got a call from Brian Gordon, who was our equipment manager, the famous BG. They had a creative position with the Coastal Athletic Association, and he asked me to apply. And at that point, I realized coach's tape, there's not really any creative elements with it. This was a creative position. I knew I wanted to get back into that. Did that for 5 months. Wes Offerman called me, asked me to apply, and here I am in your studio. You wanted to do a Zoom meeting. I said, I'm in town. I might as well just come down to the studio.
That, man. Some people can't, it's Friday. I don't know your schedule. And I know you're crazy. You're still trying to find a place to live and all that. For people that don't know, and I remember doing a story on you about this when you were still playing, that video, this has been in your blood. Your dad obviously is a news guy. Tell us about just being around it and wanting to be a part of this basically since that's all you've never known, right?
Both my parents were news people.
Yeah.
When my dad ended up getting into getting a position, and we moved to Omaha from Topeka, Kansas. My mom didn't have to work anymore, and they were both at one time anchors on the news. They met in Joplin, Missouri. But, growing up, they always told me, do not get into the media. There's no money in it. Do something else. But it's in my blood. I couldn't resist. I did for a while. I was in denial. Frankly, I'll admit I was afraid of getting into a position and failing. And it's always been a passion of mine. I mean, I started just making videos on my own in middle school, and then I got into a class in high school and did an internship with Casey Byers and just really fell in love with it at that time and went away from it. I tried to get rich right out of college. It just didn't work out. I'm just so blessed to have the opportunities that I have because of the great people, especially from around here in Fargo.
What do you like about the media aspect? Is the editing part of it? I always like that. People ask me, this part on air is great. I like being able to put the video together. I like that of putting stories together. What do you enjoy about? Is it the shooting of it? What do you really enjoy about doing it?
I like all aspects of, I consider
the creative part of
storytelling.
It. Yeah. Yes, correct.
And there's different ways that you can tell a story. I mean, infinite ways that you can tell a story, and deciding what the narrative is and building that over the season and adapting to the changes that happen during the season and informing the fans, getting them fired up, showing recruits what our facilities look like, what it's like to play for this team and this program, what Coach Polasek is like. I was reading Grant Olson's comments from yesterday and was just getting fired up and just thinking about, started getting the gears going of how I can be the medium to our intended audience and express what he was saying in his press conference.
When you see this now, these tentacles with media departments, they attach themselves with teams. I mean, you delivered it firsthand with Washington. NDSU had Scott Anderson did it for a few years. He's now in Oregon, working out in the Pac-12, and they're more than hype videos. They really are. There's storytelling that goes involved with it, whether it's about releasing a jersey or a helmet or the preview of that particular game. They have become conduits for the fans to be attached beyond what we can do on the TV news side of it. Is that arm of it? That's a total deal now. It wasn't when you were playing. It certainly is now.
Yes, like I said, Casey Byers came in and built this program from nothing, and our staff at the athletics department does such a great job of getting these guys media trained.
Yep.
And knowing when they're going to talk to you and knowing what line of thinking they should stick to and to be appropriate. Part of my job is to show our fans what our players are like. What are their individual personalities like? I want to do that for our kids. That's something I learned from Casey. I watched a number of his presentations at Washington, and especially with the way that NIL is building, I want to get these guys out to the public and show them who they are.
What are you hoping to do here? I mean, you basically have a kind of a blank slate, right, of what you want to do.
Yeah, in a way, Wes Offerman is my boss. He's been great so far, and I'm still in the phase of finding out what my email address is and stuff like that. But before I got here, we had a number of conversations. I was, bouncing some ideas off of him that were coming to me in the shower, and he's like, let's get the basics down first. Let's slow it down. But I'm just so fired up to be back here and to be with these coaches in this program.
We'll talk all football on our next segment. You got a few more minutes to chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll do that in our next segment here. The fall camp part of that you don't miss. Do you miss that at any stretch of the imagination, or is that something you did enjoy?
I liked fall camp because it was only football.
Okay.
It was long. It was all day. Freshman year was certainly difficult. I was just reminiscing with Esley about our first fall camp. I think the first night I was so exhausted but could not sleep because my head was spinning with all of our install, and it felt like the sphere of death at the circus where you have motorcycles, like 8 guys. And that's how, I'm thinking about cover 2 and zone Y and all those things. And so I don't miss that aspect, and I like the position I'm in now, but I did like that it was football,
it was 24/7
meetings,
football,
meals together.
Yeah.
You really build camaraderie during this time because you're going through it all together.
Logan Kopp told me yesterday, I asked about that. He said after that first day, he felt like it was the worst football player ever. I don't know. He said, I don't know if I love football as much as I did after that first day. Is that accurate? Freshman fall camp day 1?
Yes, there's a number of guys that said they missed high school football. It was so much, you're the best guy on your team in high school. But, I remember one play specifically, we were defending a 22 purse, and we had a play called, I think it was blue, and I just had no idea what I was supposed to do on the play. I just froze and backpedaled until the play was over, and Coach Dickert came up to me and said, you know what you're doing? I said, no, I'm completely lost. I've never faced 22 purse like this. We had 2 defenses when I was in high school.
By the way, that's the new coach in Washington State, Jake Dickert, who was then an assistant when you got here in 2010. Let's break. We'll chat some Bison football memories with one of the all-time greats, Christian Dudzik. We'll do that. Hot Mike returns on this Friday morning. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning edition of Hot Mike rolls on. Christian Dudzik joining us in studio. Bison all-time great, 2010 to 2014. Sorry to date you on that. It's been. Can it really be 10 years since you were done playing in NDSU? That's the wild part to me.
I've already been called old as hell in the athletic department. It's hard to believe, yeah.
You have the unique position that, speaking of positions, that you played 2 separate ones, all conference at 2 separate ones. You started, obviously, at corner and then moved to safety for the remainder of your career, which people, I think, would just naturally think you were a safety. But your redshirt freshman year, you played corner. Give us the backstory of when who came to you? I don't even know who came to you say, we want you to play corner in 2011.
It must have been Coach Kleiman.
Yeah.
We didn't have much depth there going into that season. And then Brendan Pierre, who had started the year before, became ineligible. So there just became a race for that position. And one of my best friends now, Brian Shepard, and I competed at that position. Then we both moved to safety and competed there for 2 more years. But that season, man, I was just feeling the need, honestly. I mean, at times I felt like a liability, but I do take pride in the fact that I think I only got burned twice. I can remember both times.
I was going to say, which ones were them? Now I want to know.
South Dakota State, one of their basketball players was playing receiver.
2011?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
down there.
I feel like he got drafted. I can't remember his name, but he caught one on me. And then
what was the other one?
JMU ran a trick play. I was out covered over their quarterback and didn't realize it. And they did like a jet reverse toss right over my head for a touchdown.
Yep, I do remember that one.
That was one of my rear end chewings from Coach Kleiman.
We're watching just your highlight reel here, which was everything from punt returns to obviously interceptions. You were the definition of a defensive playmaker. This was a huge one. The Iowa State game, which is now 10 years ago, which is just crazy to think about. That whole time, I mean, you played every game. I really thought when you and Kyle were done, 61 was going to be, no one was going to touch that record. Now you're like 9th or 10th on the all-time list because of COVID.
Right.
That your record's gone now.
Yeah, it doesn't, I was called the Iron Man. Now it seems like I was sheet metal or something. Sheet metal man. Yeah, a lot of guys, I mean.
That's impressive, though. Total seriousness. You never missed a game. You got to have a lot of pride in that.
I do have pride in it, but I also think that I'm probably due for an injury. So I try to stay away from street basketball and whatnot. No, but we had a great training staff there, and I give a lot of credit to Coach Kramer again. I mean, the way that I prepared with him, I really pushed myself, but they didn't let me push myself in a way that would be detrimental. And, I just fully committed to their program, and it worked out for me.
Last summer, I did a whole thing on the 10-year anniversary of the Kansas State game. I know that was personally a big one for you. Give me your recollections of that now 11 years later of that night in Manhattan, outside of it being obnoxiously hot.
Yeah, right away it was.
Yes.
My grandma came to the game and had to leave. It was so hot.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but she was from Hiawatha, Kansas, so my uncle took her back about an hour and a half from Manhattan. But yes, that game, I remember it being scheduled while I was at NDSU, so it must have been about 2010. And of course, it was just I was more excited for it than anything, and it was. Growing up, I wanted to play for K-State. Truthfully, I mean, it was my motivation my whole life, and I worked really hard in high school, and I wasn't good enough, and they passed on me, no walk-on or anything, and that worked out. I was happy to go to take NDSU and go down there and get a win against them in dramatic fashion. I mean, shoot, the roller coaster of that game and the way the offense performed at the end of it. I mean, to get the opportunity to return punts because Ryan Smith was injured. It just worked out to be an incredible memory that, I'll never forget it with the guys that were on the field with me.
There were three memories of that game. Your punt return early in the game, which we just showed. Beck flying through the air because Fox picked up on that. And obviously the game-winning touchdown. Those are three, you're talking about making moments and stories. Those are three moments that are going to live forever in Bison football history. Those three in mine are going to be out there forever.
I watched the game recently, I think, right after I took the position with NDSU. I started getting back in the mindset of being in Fargo. I watched the movie Fargo a couple of times. Clint Jelstad addressed the team the other night, and he's from Velva, North Dakota, and I was just astounded by his dialect. It's so unique, and I haven't heard it in so long. And it's just a part of the reason that I love it around here. I mean, just the lovely people and unique characters. I'm not even answering your question.
No, you're fine. No, don't worry about it. No,
the other thing I was going to say, your memories from that game, Brian Shepard came down so fast on a fourth down play they were trying to convert, I think in the first half, from safety.
Yeah.
And the defense that we were in, he just had to be prepared to play the deep middle of the field or come down and tackle the quarterback. And he flew down so quick. I think it was a 4th and 3 or something, and stopped him short 1 yard of the first down. And I texted him about that. I'm like, what call were we in? Because this is an incredible play that kind of went overlooked. Because it was in the first half, but it took the air out of the stadium. Like, these guys are here to play. These guys are as physical, if not more physical, and as talented as we are.
Let's take that game out, is there another memory or memories that stick out like I'll have forever? When I talk about Bison football, what comes right to mind?
2014 national championship, that roller coaster.
Well, that's a heck of a game. That was fun. I was telling you, I'm still looking to get a place here in Fargo. Until then, I'm staying with Esley Thorson. He and I were roommates back in the day. Grant Olson and I were roommates back in the day. And the memory I'll never forget is Esley dropping an interception in the third quarter. And just knowing him, he was so hard on himself about that. So when at the end of the game they're driving, they can kick a field goal to win the game.
With 20, 25 seconds left, he rips that ball away from the tight end. I asked him about it last night because I had never asked him, what did you see on that play? And he ripped it away, stood up, immediately had tears in his eyes, and I knew how much that play meant to him just from what he had been through. Getting passed up for Carson Wentz to be the backup to Brock, moving to linebacker,
and he was a heck of a linebacker. Man, he was really
great
good.
Player.
Right at the end of this time, he was a dynamite football player. That's
terrific
that's
player,
a good one.
Terrific leader on our team. We'll be best friends for life.
You had also the moment you had 2 punt return touchdowns in one game in Indiana State, showing off the wheels there. And that was the thing the following year that Kleiman, I remember, said to me, we're going to move Christian, we're going to try him on offense. You remember that? What that conversation was like when Coach Kleiman told you that, or asked you about it maybe?
The thing, I kind of played into this character when I was a player in meetings and whatnot. I always said, I could play anywhere on the field. told Crockett, if I played running back, I'd be starting this year. And so when Coach Kleiman seriously came to me and said,
Awesome.
we'd like to put you in for some jets and stuff like that, and maybe throw you the ball. I mean, I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I got to do that was against Montana. I got jet sweep to open the game. I mean, I also was the returner on kickoff.
Yep.
So
you were doing quite a bit.
I knew I would be in the next play, and I didn't want to be gassed. So I think I received the ball about 1 yard inside the end zone. I said, I'm going down. We'll get the ball to 25, and I'll take it to the house, hopefully. But and then later in that game, I had a punt return that went for like 60, but got called back. I was the type of guy that if I had anything where I had to run over 40 or 50 yards, I was coming to the sideline and puking at the end of the series. So I had just done that, got to the sideline. A coach comes running down and says, Coach P needs you right now. Right now, we're going to run one of the plays that we had practiced. And, of course, the play that he calls was a play where I had to start as like X wide outside the numbers and then run across, fake run across, then fake run back, and then come back, get the ball. Remember that Ra was going to crack back on the inside linebacker, try to make the corner miss. I forgot that second half, and Coach P was in my ear.
I bet.
Right after the play. I said, well, I mean, I just ran the ball 60 yards. What do you expect, man? I'm dying out here. I am not that smart.
Oh, that is fantastic. That's a great story. The Omaha connection. You guys were part of the first of that. I can remember like Garrett Brune, yourself, Kyle.
He's from Beatrice. He's from.
But the Nebraska part of it. You know what I mean?
We're
like
Class B.
That was the start of what the pipeline has now become. Certainly out of Omaha. I mean, when Easton got here and RJ got here,
DeLuca
and Nick got here. And it's only continued. Jalen Allison was a great player. Tyler Rice came up here from Omaha. Now, obviously, Cole Payton is here, and Marty Brown they really like. Describe that of when NDSU came to your hometown and said, this is, we'd like you to come up here and play for the Bison.
Well, it's kind of funny. I've been talking about this because now that I'm in the athletic department, we're talking a lot more about branding. When I started getting recruited in 2008, 2009, I had no idea who NDSU was.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well have been a Division II team to me. And I grew up in Nebraska, so everything is Nebraska football around there. Grew up a Kansas State fan. But that being said, I always said that the guys that we would recruit out of Nebraska, generally speaking, would probably grow up Nebraska fans, would understand what winning looks like, what expectations look like, and then they're going to be super competitors. And I think, with the guys that you mentioned there, that's the type of guys that they are. They play with a lot of pride, and they expect to win on every play.
Yeah.
And, all those guys you mentioned, I think their careers showed that.
Jesse Hines was another one. I mentioned him, the other Beatrice kid there as well. Just that pipeline is just crazy. And all of you guys, really, really good. All of you.
And I got to watch Cole Payton play in high school.
Yep.
And, man, that kid, talk about competitor and just physical.
Right.
I mean, he wants to hit when he's got the ball in his hands.
He does.
It was a pleasure to watch him. I got to talk to him yesterday. I'm just so excited for how they're going to use him this year.
He craves contact, is what he told me. So,
absolutely.
And we'll see that again. It's great to see you. I think fans are going to love the fact you're back in town. Thanks for making time, and can't wait to see you out at fall camp in a couple days. All right.
It's good to see you again.
Back in town, Christian Dudzik, one of the all-time greats for Bison football. Back now as the director of creative content for NDSU. You'll be seeing his videos pretty darn soon out there on social media. We're due for a break. We'll come back. My pops on the other side. We got plenty to chat with there. We'll do that as Hot Mike rolls on. We're back after this.